It did.
Let me run some names of actors by you that you've worked with, and give me a quick take. Brando.
Whew, man, that's a show all of its own. I have so many, deep feelings about Brando. He's the greatest film actor that I've ever seen, hands down. And I knew that when I was in my teens. So, between Montgomery Clift and Marlon Brando, they just changed my whole life as an actor. I was an Orson Welles, very dramatic Shakespearean actor, and when I was 13 or 14, in 1 week, I saw Place in the Sun with Montgomery Clift in it, and the first time I saw Brando was not his first film, but I saw him in Viva Zapata. Mm-hmm. And those two movies changed my whole way of thinking about film. About acting. I had to rethink everything because it was so subtle. They were so beautiful.
Was Brando the greatest film actor because of the quality of his talent and technique alone, or is it inseparable from his presence?
I think it was both. It was both. But he had great technique. Great. He was a great technician, but also he had a presence on screen that was just... but it was, well, it's hard to distinguish between his acting and his personality, but he had such magnetism. He had such incredible magnetism. And then personally, just, oh, I don't know. It was just, meeting him was one thing, and then working with him on Apocalypse Now, we had a lot of problems together, and he refused to be on the set the same time I was, and...
Why?
I'd like to think that he was doing me a favor, honestly, but it's a long story.
We have nothing but time.
Sure you do. Yeah, well, God. First of all, to do Apocalypse Now, Fred Roos wanted me to be in it. He'd seen tracks that I did with Henry Jaglin and played a soldier coming back from the Vietnam War. I said, well, I'll do this, because I was in France and I was out of work. I said, I'll do this, but I want one line with Brando. I don't care what it is, I just want one line with Brando. So that was relayed to Francis. France said, okay. And so I arrive in the Philippines from France, and Brando has not arrived. Now, Brando's on $1 million contract, and he's going to play $1 million a week. He's going to do 1 week, and then he keeps going, whatever. So everybody's waiting for Brando to arrive because Brando has now been ill or something's happening, and everybody's sitting around waiting for Brando to arrive. So when Brando finally arrives, I have been down there a month and a half. And I have this crack unit. We're doing drills, we're doing karate, jiu-jitsu, we're climbing trees, we're scouting, we're holding bridges at the Japanese and everybody and the French and God knows who have lost and gained and so on in real wars. And we're doing really well. We're a crack unit. And I got the Ithagao headhunters, and we're going for it. So anyway, then we go to dinner. And at dinner, I have been given a little red book. This red book is a special services book by the Special Service, which I'm not really supposed to have, but one of the Green Berets gave it to me. Mm-hmm. And I got it in my boot. So at dinner, Francis has been on him. I don't know this, but Francis has been on him saying, you didn't read the book. You didn't read Heart of Darkness. He's been on Brando all day. He finds out Brando has not read the book because he's not going to have a story conference. We got to do this picture, blah, blah, blah. There's no ending. And I say to Brando, sitting across from him at dinner, I bet you haven't read the book. And he thinks I'm talking about Heart of Darkness, but I don't know this at the time, so I'm about ready to pull out the red book, and he gets up and he says, I don't have to listen to this, I don't have to take this, and he's screaming and yelling. Why do I have to hear it from him? I have to hear it from this punk, and he's screaming and yelling at Francis, and he storms out of the house. So I take this very personally and start getting into my cups and and doing a few other things that we have plenty of down there. And we're going to a boxing match. They've some bantamweights, Philippine bantamweights, which are really good. And they're going to put on a fight that night in Brando's honor. So we go there, and I sit behind Brando, and I start doing numbers on him at the boxing match. And then we go to see The Seven Samurai in a movie theater. And I'm sitting then again behind him, and I get up at one point and I say, there's an actor in here that, that said of a dead friend of mine that he wore his last year of Levi's, drove his last year motorcycle, and did his last year bongo drums, and I sure would like a piece of his ass. In film, on film, ba 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 ba, and I storm out and stagger into some like motorcycle and fall over into some bushes or something, you know. But anyway, the next day everything's shut down, and Brando and Francis go off on a 2-week river excursion and come back 2 weeks later with a script. And so Brando said, I work with him, but you do your scenes first, and then I'll come and listen to you, but we'll never be on the set together.
So my problem is I not only have to come up with a scene, but it's got to have the right shape to fit in the jigsaw puzzle. Maybe I ought to get Dennis Hopper in the scene, so it's just not with 2 characters. Well, you know.
No, I don't know. Francis, you know. I don't. Nobody's told me.
I mean, I have been afraid to even put Dennis Hopper and Marlon together, because Christ, I haven't figured out what Marty's going to do with Marlon. What happens if I got crazy Dennis Hopper in there?
I know nothing.
I'll tell you.
Okay,
but you don't let me call you.
Oh, I see.
When Jiffy Lube says we've got experience.
When he was still at NYU, Martin Brando